Today I'm going to demo how to start your foam project and a couple of different techniques that I use. Get your area set up with a box or a large tray. This foam does get very messy, so you do want to contain all of the pieces. Pull out your ribbon tools, a knife, nothing too sharp, and if you happen to have one of these, you'll like to pull out that ribbon tool too. When it's all said and done, we will be mounting these onto mat board. You can mount them sideways. That is also an option. Let's begin carving. I think one of the more difficult shapes for students to achieve is the sphere. If you think of it more along the lines of a globe with longitude and latitude, it may help you to visualize it. When starting, some people like to go ahead and do a quick sketch on there. That may assist you, but please make sure you don't then think only in two-dimensional forms. In order to make a sphere on top, I am going to have to cut away a lot of this excess. This North Pole is going to stay there. As I start to round off my corners, you can use a butter knife to do this. I'm going to start to even use some of my ribbon tool. Now I've got some chunks off and rounding it off to make a point. As you can see, it's starting to get round, but right now I have more of an egg shape. So I already know a lot of this part is going to be coming off. This part is done. I've taken my time to smooth it really well. Now, let's say on this side, I want points and like flames coming out where there's actual depth going down. Again, if you want to mark where they're at, you can to kind of give yourself a little bit of a head start, but really all you want to do is kind of mark a couple circles. You don't need a lot. And then oddly enough, and it's hard to imagine this because sometimes it's like when you start thinking about doing something like that, you have to start thinking not just 2D, but 3D, and you have to start carving down into it and around it. Taking away so you have the excess. Now, obviously you're going to need to be extremely careful when working with foam. You can easily break it, which is the benefit of using this, is that it's easy to carve, but you do have to be extremely careful when doing this. One of my suggestions is, let's say I had a hole right here, I would wait to carve that till more the end. That way I am not sitting there having a really weak spot while carving. I'll continue carving down into here to pull out some flame spikes. seen how to do the flames or any kind of spikes going downwards, you have to really cut in between in order for that to work. And I didn't finish smoothing at all. But if you wanted to turn this into a face, how would you do that? Technically you have to dig out, and you can see I have a face on this one right here. You have to dig out eye sockets. My suggestion is to first do the eye sockets a bit farther apart than you had planned. That way you don't get rid of your nose completely. Now I might switch a little bit more to actually carving with my fingers. This is where it gets a little more delicate. You don't want to mess anything up. As I carve back a little bit of my cheeks, I'm going to come down here and carve out the bottom part of my nose. And as you can kind of see, I'm forming an abstract face. If I wanted to, I could even take and make my cheeks a little more cheeky. Bringing those in. But I would probably at this point put my tool down and either use my popsicle stick or just my fingers in order to carve, or a small tool of any sort, so I could get myself a cute little nose. Kind of rounding it a little bit. If I wanted nostrils, I would have to bring down, make this a little more defined on the edges. See how much it ionizes to you? Then I would take a tiny bit off by the nostril areas and then gently round it off for a nose. But anything you do, this is pretty tight and a lot of detail. It's not easy to do with foam to get specific details. So keep in mind that whatever you're making is still going to be abstract, even if you're trying for figurative. It's not going to be realistic. Voila! Cute little nose. Wiping my nose. Thank you.